The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we saw this coming from the standpoint of they have proven anytime they have it going well, it's temporary, and it's subject to change at any time with or without notice. And it happened yesterday, and it's like, oh my God, they're going to blow this. They're going to blow this game. They're going to lose the division. Now, they ultimately wouldn't have because the Carolina Panthers beat the Falcons, but I'd like to think if the Falcons had known the door was open for them, they might have found a way to win the game in overtime because they knew it was over.
They were during the coin toss. They knew overtime.
They knew it was over.
It's over. They packed it up.
So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Saints 27-19, and they really had to dig deep. It's the first time ever. Baker Mayfield had been 0-41 when trailing in a game by 10 points. It's the first time he ever came back and won a game that he'd been losing by 10 points. That is an amazing stat. And I'm surprised that he'd be a guy who can't dig deep and come, because he seems like the kind of guy who would maybe not thrive on it, but 10 points, 10 points is nothing.
Right.
We'll come back from 10 points. We'll just, we'll get a big play, and I'll drop my junk in someone's face like he did yesterday to spark the turnaround.
He sparked the turnaround with his legs. That was the biggest thing. Third down, especially. The Bucs on third down were phenomenal. He was 10 for 16, and you're going to see all these clips here. These are all third down runs.
The aftermath of that play, too, because it was he
should have got called for a personal foul probably twice in the football game, but he got away with it, and either way, it did energize his team. This was huge here. Third and 14, right? This starts, and their 94-yard drive that eventually they end up scoring on a touchdown on this play right here with a little lateral and nice movement in the pocket. I'm with you. I'm a little surprised he hasn't come back from 10 points before. But this is also only year 2 of him being on a team that can be capable of coming back from 10 points. I think that's the other thing we got to, keep in our mind. But you said it right, Mike. I mean, Tampa is a little all over the place. Their offense is awesome. It's aggressive. It can dominate the line of scrimmage. They run the football. Bucky Irving's electric. Baker Mayfield's throwing the ball as good as he's ever thrown it in his career. So that's all great. But you got to worry about their defense. How could you not? I mean, they were a little asleep at the wheel yesterday, being down 13-3 and 16-6. But their defense, and one thing I wrote in my notes over, like you've heard me say this a little bit. What are they doing in Tampa on defense sometimes? I watched that game yesterday, and I was like, wait, is Alvin Kamara playing, and are they running for 150 yards in the first half? Because their Buccaneers are playing defenses with 5 and 6 people in the line of scrimmage, and then yet they are missing corners. They don't have either one of their starting safeties, and they're putting guys that are less than your normal starting secondary players in positions one-on-one versus Saints receivers with a rookie quarterback and Spencer Rattler, like daring to lose the football game. Here you go. Here's a stupid defense. Just throw it up to Valdez-Scantling and maybe we'll lose. They have to readjust the way they're playing. What are they worried about? They got Kalijah Kancey and Vita Vea on the defensive side, a defensive tackle, and they act like they're undermanned at those positions. If they don't fix that, Jaden Daniels and company are going to control the ball and throw 7 and 8 and 7 and 8 and 10. Oh, I ran for 15. And they'll just wear the Bucs down if they don't change their approach a little.
We saw that from the Falcons both times the Falcons beat them, especially the first time. Now, Antoine Winfield Jr. wasn't there, but it wasn't any different the second time now that I reflect on it. Down the middle, open.
Carved them up.
Boom, just
they
slice and dice and down the field. Yeah.
Too much. Too many people at the line of scrimmage, too much blitzing. Right? I know at one point during the game yesterday you heard me saying, look at all the people in the line of scrimmage. I guarantee he throws some little pop slant or post down the middle here. There's huge voids in their defense at times. I don't get that. They don't need to take those chances. They have an offense that I think can do just about whatever it wants on that side of the ball. And the defense, to me, just needs to stop the bleeding to a degree. And they'll be a handful in the playoffs. And let's see if they can make that adjustment. That's Todd Bowles' MO, his whole career, his whole life, until the Super Bowl against Mahomes, and he changed. Maybe he'll change this time in the playoffs in round 2. We'll see.
If they had blown that game yesterday, and if the Falcons had won,
Todd
Bowles would have been on retirement watch. Because we know look, I did a lot of work on this over the weekend. The Buccaneers have been not unpredictable. I'd say predictably unpredictable over the years. Look at what they did with Gruden. Washed him out for Raheem Morris. Boom. When they had Lovie Smith as the coach and they were afraid Dirk Cutter was going to leave to be a head coach somewhere else, they took the offense coordinator, made him the head coach, and I made the bad decision once upon a time of asking Dirk Cutter in an interview on this program about whether he had a response to the notion that it was an inside job. He still wants to kick my ass. And he'd still be yelling at me if I hadn't eventually walked away from him at the pool at the resort in Orlando 8 years ago. But this possibility of Liam Cohen becoming a head coach elsewhere, that's where this was coming from. Initially, during the season, it was for Belichick.
Yeah.
And when Belichick consigliere Mike Lombardi starts talking about Todd Bowles retiring when no one is talking about Todd Bowles retiring, that's where it was going. And then they won 3 in a row, remember, right out of the bye. That kind of closed the door on it, and then he goes to North Carolina. If they had lost yesterday, it's just funny because is somebody going to write a $10 million check to North Carolina so Belichick can come to Tampa Bay? And it's not a joke. I mean, it would have been a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, $10 is nothing to Bill Belichick or a football team that wants
$10 million.
Certainly, or $10 million.
$10 million. $10 million to him.
It's $10. I think that's what I was trying to say there. But I hear you there all the way. Liam Cohen has certainly impressed me in what he does on that side of the ball. He's got a nice blend of being able to attack and throw the ball down the field, incredible run game design, and then he knows how to throw screens, whether it's running back, receiver, whoever it may be. They're dangerous on the offensive side of the ball. And because of that, they should be able to match up with just about anybody in the game. It's just going to be about their defense. They can run, they can pass protect, they're going to give Baker time to throw the ball down the football field. That was a big win for them. I'm happy for them. Hey, this is the Buccaneers. Things were supposed to fall apart when Tom Brady left. They're not. Oh, and here we are, 2 years in a row, right back into the playoffs.
Three straight division championships.
Yeah, 3 straight division championships.
Two without him. Two without him.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I was trying to say.
Yeah, you're right.
But everybody kind of thought it was going to all fall apart.
They won 4 straight.
Four straight
division titles. The only year they didn't win
was the year they won the Super Bowl. Right. So they're on fire. And then we got to talk about Mike Evans and what they did. That was really kind of cool.
It was cool, but it was gutsy and it was risky. And Devin McCourty was losing his shit. Right. Sorry, London. Put 3 guys on him. Don't let him get that record. He needed 5 yards late to get to 1,000.
35 seconds, 1st and 10, needs 5 yards. They throw a little quick out route, and he gets 7 or 8.
And they're celebrating like they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Which, that's great that they love their teammate. And you're taking a risk. I mean, they could have put 2 guys on him. Anything could have happened on that play. But he got to 1,000 yards, the 11th straight time, ties Jerry Rice for the all-time record for consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. He already has the record for consecutive 1,000-yard seasons to start a career.
Yeah.
It's 11 at any time. There he is getting the game ball. He's 3 short of Rice's all-time record. Hall of Famer, walks right in. Talk about quiet. This is like the Amon-Ra St. Brown thing.
Yeah.
Nobody notices him.
No, he's the quietest Hall of Famer
He's quiet.
in NFL
He goes
history.
about his business.
Right.
I met him the day he was drafted, and he was even quieter coming out of college than he is now.
Yeah.
But a tremendous career for him. Let's hear a little from Baker Mayfield on his teammate Mike Evans.
He deserves that. This guy means so much to the community, this team, this organization for years. And for him to be able to reach that feat 11 years in a row and tie Jerry Rice it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is, and it's great that they pulled it off. Even better that they got the win, and they will host the Commanders in the wild card round, Sunday Night Football. We won't be at the game. We'll be in studio. I wish you kind of
get addicted to this.
Yeah. Now, I was talking about it last night. I said, well, you might feel differently in Seattle in December when it's raining and cold and there's no dome. But there's something about being in the building. They had a great setup for us yesterday where we could do our work. Because whenever we're on the road, sometimes it's not the most spacious of quarters. And, it's like, how are we going to watch all the games? They did a great job throwing it together very quickly. And we appreciate the hospitality here. And good job the folks at NBC that made this happen. Because it was as good as a normal Sunday for us, taking it all on the road. But, yeah, you do get a little hooked on that. Case, though, in point. Washington at Tampa. They started the season 37-20. Tampa Bay beat them.
2 matchups in the NFC.
Yeah, and it would have been 3 if the Lions had lost.
Right.
Three week 1 rematches. It would have been. It's 2 instead. Green Bay, Philly played in Brazil. This is a different Commanders team.
Yes.
Than it was week 1.
Right.
Very different. Jaden Daniels' first game. Jaden Daniels, he told you.
He told me he was the most nervous he was all year. It was the Washington Commanders game to start the year. Yeah, this is a totally different, cool customer coming to town this time. He is not going to blink or be fazed by any of this. It should be fun to see what they do. I do think this is a game that has a chance to kind of be shootout, high-scoring type of football game because I think both defenses are at a little bit of a disadvantage as far as the matchup overall. We'll see where it goes there, but hey, Tampa winning the NFC South, the position they were in a few weeks ago. You think about week 10, week 11. Man, Atlanta seems to have a grip on the division. Kirk Cousins is playing pretty good, and that's when it really started to go the wrong direction. Buccaneers hang in there. Man, they find their running game. They're talented as hell on the offensive side of the ball. And like I said, my only concern is that defense and the way Todd Bowles calls the game that time. It's too aggressive. It's like he's always playing the 92 Cowboys trying to stop Emmitt Smith, and I'm like, he's not out there today. It's Spencer Rattler, and I don't even know who's playing tailback. So don't worry about that. We'll see if they can make that adjustment, but they're fun to watch.
It's funny, though. I heard that Tom Brady, who was working that game yesterday, was talking up Spencer Rattler and company like maybe he'd actually bought 10% of the Saints instead of 10% of the Raiders.
Well, Rattler played good early. He played good early, right?
But he was like effusive, and it was like,
yeah.
Are we sure? Really? Like Spencer Rattler and
I
Saints?
wasn't sure what we were going to see from the Saints, especially after what we saw the last time we saw them, right? I mean, we've seen them not play their best football. We saw them get blown out. I thought maybe they would chalk it up. Either way, they showed up. And the last thing I just want to say is that play at the end was crazy gutsy. That was, because like you said, I mean, ball tipped in the air, or he catches it and gets hit right as he catches it, ball gets thrown in the air, interception, fumble, whatever.
It would have been another Herm
Coaches
Edwards.
Usually don't do that.
It would have been another Herm Edwards miracle of the Meadowlands.
Yeah, right, but even worse, because it might cost them a playoff.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah, exactly.
But it's I think it shows you how loved he is throughout their organization and how much the organization loves him and wanted him to get that record, and that was a big-time move by them.
Boy, I had one other point to make. And for the Saints.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that they came out and played as hard as they did is because of what happened last week. We heard quotes from guys like Tyrann Mathieu.
Right.
They feel an obligation to the city they represent, and things right now they're healing from the terrorist attack that happened on New Year's Day. And for a while I thought they're going to win this game because we acknowledged last week, I understand that they want to do it, but do they have the manpower to do it? And they almost did. They almost pulled it off. In a meaningless game, and I know there's no such thing as a meaningless game, but meaningless to those of us who watch football. I know it's always meaningful to the people who play, but even some of the games yesterday, you got to wonder how meaningful it really was.
Yeah, sure.
But for the Saints, there was no upside, nothing to gain. You're risking injury out there on the field that you're going to have to rehab into the offseason. They did not make business decisions. They went out and played hard, and kudos to the Saints for finishing strong, and now they're going to embark on their coaching search. They're the one team. The Jets have been out there interviewing people, even though they don't have a general manager. They're interviewing head coaches and GMs. The Saints have done nothing.
Yeah.
They've done stuff behind the scenes.
Right.
But they've done nothing. And it's going to start today. Matt Nagy, I'm told, is on the list.
Right.
There's been some chatter about John Gruden.
He's been there in the summer a few times.
He was a consultant, and they got no big blowback from the league because he got that lawsuit against the league in the aftermath of his forced resignation from the Raiders. They got no blowback when that happened. He's been out for a few years, though, and I was kicking this around with somebody recently because it's like, his overall record's not great. And second stint with the Raiders was, and it's like, hey, look, it's two franchises where who's ever been able to consistently win there?
Yeah, that's a good point. It certainly is.
The Bucs in recent years, but before that, no.
Yeah, no. I mean, he's certainly a guy that can come in and energize an organization. That's going to be the good thing about John Gruden. Yeah, he's won the Super Bowl. He's been to the playoffs a lot. He's going to know what it takes to get everything going in the right direction. It's a huge offseason for the Saints. Head coach, got to get a quarterback for the future.
Unless it's Gruden, maybe Derek Carr. Maybe you keep him.
Maybe it is. I don't think that even is going to. I don't think that'll fly either. I think we're at a point here with Derek Carr and where that is.
You think it's time to move on?
Well, I just think if you're a team like that's trying to build for the future, I would probably move on. Right? It's no disrespect to Derek Carr, but where he is at his age, the player he is now, I would expect them to move on and try to find somebody young in the draft and build around that. The other thing they have that's a big disadvantage too is they have some salary cap issues because they kicked the can down the road on so many people's contracts that even though it looks like they're in a rebuild mode, I mean, they still got some checks to pay from old contracts and things like that.
They're always seemingly in salary cap hell, and Mickey Loomis, the GM of the team, always finds a way to get it under control. And the key is if you can kick cap dollars into the future, because the cap always goes up, you kick them into the future and they have a less of a relative impact than they would now in this year. And he's great at that. I mean, they had some big mess after Drew Brees retired. Then it's this, then it's that, and they always find a way to do it. All right. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.